Good morning, everybody. The purpose of this speech is to recognize the arguments against physician-assisted dying. As we are well informed by now, physician-assisted death is an ongoing battle worldwide. Why is that, though? What is stopping every state from legalizing physician-assisted death? Today, I'd like to dive into some reasoning behind why 10 states have only currently legalized PAD. Some of the most common reasons are religious beliefs or the immoral principle, but it goes beyond that initial outlook. There's the lawmaker's opinion, state versus federal decisions, the economic outlook in which people argue has an influence on end-of-life decisions. Then there's the ethical battle between compassion for a terminally ill outpatient and the term suicide. Firstly, I'd like to dive into the technicalities of state law versus federal. States are capable of setting their own laws regarding certain things, and in this instance, physician-assisted death is one of them. As Wikipedia states in 1997, the cases of Washington versus Glucksberg and Vasco versus Quill, the United States Supreme Court ruled anonymously that there is no constitutional right to assisted suicide, and that states therefore have the right to prohibit it. I find it odd that the government has left it up to states to decide on the matter, considering most laws regarding birth and death are all federal regulations. As I talked about in my last speech, the fact that it's a state law forces people to relocate or make unfavorable choices such as actual suicide. Even though the Supreme Court ruled there are no constitutional rights to assisted suicide, it should be within an American's right to choose to die without suffering. Secondly, would be the fear of economical choice. There is the concern that people with a lower economical class will choose to take part in physician-assisted death rather than somebody that has the money to fight back. I do believe that the financial burden of hospice and medication does weigh heavily on the choice of PAD, but we have to keep in mind that this is not a determining factor for approval. The qualifications for PAD are not how much money you make or if you fall into a certain tax bracket. The qualifications are what illness you are diagnosed with, what timeline you have to live, and how severe your pain and suffering is. I don't think that wealth is a good argument in this instance because at the end of the day, regardless of your financial circumstance, who is going to want to leave their loved one with an enormous medical bill? Nobody. Lastly would be the argument that physician-assisted death is a foot in the door for suicide or a slippery slope for society. Kevin Ewell argues legalizing assisted suicide would only codify a neutral stance towards killing oneself, calling it a foot in the door. Ewell also argues that legalizing euthanasia would enable anybody to declare they have enough unbearable suffering to warrant an assisted suicide. You see, that is where the issue lies, because Kevin is stating that anybody would be able to declare they have enough suffering, but currently there are laws and regulations set in place as to who and what qualifies you to be approved for physician-assisted death. An average person can't just go into the doctor's office and say, I'm suffering because my back hurts, and immediately get medication to end their life. They have to have a terminal illness and a timeline that determines their qualification. I think that is where Mr. Ewell is incorrect in his thought process regarding physician-assisted death. He sees it as suicide, but isn't really looking at the facts or the full picture. Physician-assisted death is a thoroughly thought-out process and isn't just some quick and easy decision. In conclusion, we have a long way to go before we reach a consensus for the United States. I believe that once individuals that are against physician-assisted death really understand what it is and who is actually seeking it, they may have a different opinion. Although we cannot convince everybody, one person at a time does count. I appreciate all of you for taking the time to listen to me speak about this very important issue America and our loved ones are facing. I hope that I have been able to embed enough knowledge within all of you to view the issue in a different light. It is also my hope that one day all of the states can come together in the decision to legalize physician-assisted death so people can pass away comfortably and peacefully. Thank you.